Report by the Committee of the General Assembly. I invite you now to examine the draft report on our activities to be presented to the General Assembly next June. You know that we have this obligation. This report is supposed to cover all our activities from the last General Assembly in 2012 until the next General Assembly in June 2014. At this point in time, it only covers the activities until October 2013, until today, and will thus have to be completed in the months to come. But let me not say more at this point and instead invite the Secretary of the Convention to present this item to us. Kindly refer to document 5.A, report by the Committee to the General Assembly on its activities. Mrs. Duvel, you have to speak.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The document is very short because it needs to be very short as it is transmitted to the General Conference, which is not authorizing us to produce more than 6 pages. So I am sorry to have to propose such a short document which doesn't reflect the very rich work that the committee is undertaking at each of its sessions. The document starts with some basic information on the composition of the committee, its bureau, as well as its different bodies, notably the subsidiary body and the consultative body. Then we have organized the report according to the different functions of the committee set out under Article 7 of the Convention. Under the first item, promoting the objectives of the Convention, supporting and implementing its implementation, we have mainly focused on information on the global capacity building strategy that was supported by the committee, in particular through the allocation of funds. As you remember, the General Assembly at its 4th session authorized the use of the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund to continue the overall strategy of capacity building, and the committee allocated a total of $535,811 for this purpose for the period January 2012 to December 2013. With this amount, training materials for 4 priority areas of the capacity building program were completed. Additional training material are being developed, in particular on safeguarding plans and contribution of intangible heritage to sustainable development, and also on gender issues in relation to intangible heritage. And the network of facilitators trained by UNESCO to deliver capacity building services all over the world has been strengthened and expanded, counting today 79 experts. The second part of the duties of the committee, as described in the Article 7 of the Convention, is advice on best safeguarding practices. Here, efforts to promote best practices selected has been slower than expected. We are therefore happy to announce that we could issue 2 promotional materials for 2 of the 10 best safeguarding practices, and that they are available online. We are in the process of using more these best safeguarding practices in the capacity building material in the future. The item 3 of the functions of the committee is the preparation of the plan for the use of the resources of the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund and increasing the fund's resources. Here we recall how the majority of the resources were allocated to international assistance. We also detail the voluntary contributions received for 3 specific areas of actions, the implementation of 6 capacity building projects with supplementary contributions from the Netherlands, Norway and Spain, the open-ended intergovernmental working group to reflect the scale and scope of an element which was financed by Japan, and the organization of the exhibition on intangible heritage and its contribution to sustainable development on the occasion of the 10th anniversary, which benefited from financing from Monaco and Turkey. We also report on the contribution to the sub-fund for strengthening the human resources of the Secretariat. On item 4, preparation of the operational directives for the implementation of the Convention, the new directives that are being proposed by the committee are subject to this session. I will not come again because I detailed them in the timetable, but you know that you are probably going to propose new amendments to the General Assembly, which will have to be completed, of course, before the General Assembly. The 5 functions, as detailed in Article 7 of the Convention for the committee, is the examination of periodic reports. And as of today, the committee examined 26 of these reports and 1 report related to intangible cultural heritage inscribed on the urgent safeguarding list. Then, of course, the committee will report to the General Assembly about the inscription on the list of the Convention, the selection of best safeguarding practices, and the granting of international assistance. For the record, to date, the committee during this period has inscribed 31 elements on the list of the Convention, have approved 15 requests for international assistance for a total amount of $1,307,000, a little bit, dollars from 11 countries that have benefited for this amount. This section of activities of the committee remains incomplete, as you are going to take decisions about inscription during the committee session. So we will add the right figures that we don't know yet. Moreover, the upcoming meetings of the subsidiary body and the consultative body and possible meetings of the Bureau will provide further information, in particular about granting of new international assistance. Thus, this item of the report, like the other mentioned above, will need to be completed. That is why the draft decision proposed that the committee, as it has done in the previous years, delegate to the Bureau of the committee the authorization to approve the completed final report of the committee before the next session to the General Assembly, so as to reflect the latest decision taken by the 8th session of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Devel. Are there any questions concerning the document presented by Mrs. Devel? Belgium. Please, Belgium.
Thank you, Chair. As it is the first time we're taking the floor in this committee, we will want to start, of course, by thanking the host country, Azerbaijan, for their warm hospitality and for hosting the committee this year. We would also like to thank the Secretariat for the excellent preparations of the committee, and of course welcome all our colleagues, distinguished delegates to this committee. It's a special time for us. Why? It's not only 1 decade since the Convention, it's also the first time that Belgium is presenting a periodic report. It's our 2nd year in our mandate in the committee. I think if you will look at the mandate in the committee as a lifespan, with the 1st year being the toddler, the 2nd and the 3rd being adulthood, and the 4th the age of wisdom, then I think Belgium is in its teenage years now. And as you know, teenagers, they tend to uphold their ideals and speak their minds, and this is of course exactly what we're going to do, but in the spirit of the Convention and hoping for and counting on constructive and very good debates. Now, on the report, we don't have any substantial comments, but we do have a small technical remark. We note that in the annex of the report, in paragraph 4 of the English version, it is mentioned the board. The board met immediately after to replace.
This is a mistake we're going to...
Also
yes.
In the draft decision, so we would recommend amending this to replace it with the Bureau. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I was nearly announcing this matters which occurred in the documentation. I think that generally we will have several reports today, and most of them, and the one we heard is most dry and factual. Perhaps maybe there is no need to open the wide discussion upon this matter. As noticed our member of the committee from Belgium, I would like to note that there is a translation error in paragraph 5 in the English version of the decision, where board should be replaced by bureau. At the same time, since the date of the document 5A, 2 more countries have ratified the convention, and therefore paragraph 3 of our discussion changed to welcoming the 11 new states. So this is, please, I would like to have revised version on the screen. It is there. If no other objections, I therefore declare decision 8.com.2 adopted. Before we move on the item 5B of our agenda, I would like to inform that the committee of the outcomes of the Bureau meetings that I convened as chairperson of the committee on these 3 occasions. All of the working documents of the Bureau and its decisions are available on the website of the convention for your reference. We have 2 electronic consultations since the last committee meeting and 1 face-to-face meeting. Our first electronic consultation was in April. We discussed and approved the international assistance request in an amount of $186,871 submitted by Uruguay. This was the last of 4 requests delegated to the Bureau by the 6th session of the committee in Bali since November 2011. The July consultation concerned the approval of a revision of the spending plan for the use of the funds allocated for the other function of the committee under the plan for the use of the resources of the fund. On 28th October last time, the Bureau members had their face-to-face meeting in UNESCO headquarters. 4 items were on our agenda. We approved the provisional timetable of the 8th session of the committee that was presented earlier this morning and approved by you. I was very pleased that we examined and approved the first ever emergency request for international assistance submitted by Mali in the amount of $307,307 for elaborating an inventory of intangible cultural heritage in Mali with a view to its urgent safeguarding. We also examined and approved an assistance to Vietnam. Amount is $24,631, as well as 2 requests for preparatory assistance for the elaboration of nomination files to the list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding. First to Kenya, amount is $17,668, and Uganda, amount is $10,000. As you see, while we committee members meet once a year, the Bureau continues to work all year round. As mentioned by Mrs. Duvel during the presentation of our agenda, during this session of the committee, the Bureau will meet every morning prior to the committee meeting from 8:30 to 10. We will adjust the provisional timetable each morning. If we happen to make faster or slow progress, as I mentioned before, we will define the schedule and the time limits for discussion. Exceptionally, I would like to declare that tomorrow morning, please, committee members, the Bureau will meet from 9 to 10, because we have to examine the spending plan of the funds allocated for the other functions of the committee under the plan for the use of the resources of the intangible heritage list from 1st January to 30th of June 2014. This is a little bit longer discussion required, that's why. Other state members have any questions concerning the work of the Bureau before we move on? I don't think any difficulty occurs. I don't see. Uganda, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Uganda is not making a comment, but to extend its appreciation to the Republic of Azerbaijan for welcoming us warmly to Azerbaijan. We'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the Secretariat for organizing such a wonderful meeting and the Bureau for coordinating all the activities related with its function. Uganda received the decision that its request for preparatory assistance had been approved, and would like to thank you for the support in that manner. Uganda therefore extends and pledges to work towards ensuring that we have a quality file for submission in view of this preparatory assistance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for kind words for the host of the conference, and it was our honor and common decision to support your apply, and hope that we will follow such kind of attitude towards other countries the same as before. So before we continue to item 5.b, I would like to invite Mrs. Georgine Nering from the NGO Tapis Plain from Belgium to report briefly on the NGO forum that was organized in this hall yesterday. Please.
Mr. Chair, thank you for offering the floor to the NGOs. We are really delighted to learn that 105 NGO participants registered for this 8th session of the IGC. Never before has there been such a strong NGO participation to the IGC meeting. This reflects the growing and more structured engagement of the NGOs in the implementation of the Convention within its governing bodies, but also beyond. Needless to say, our recently established website, ICHNGOforum.org, has been a major contribution to such conscience raising. On behalf of the NGO Forum, I bring you a short report of the 4th ICH NGO Forum Symposium, which took place in Baku yesterday as a sort of preamble to the 8Com meeting. First of all, we wish to thank the ICH section of the UNESCO Secretariat and the hosting state party, Azerbaijan, for their generous reception and extensive support they have been offering, assisting the NGO Symposium with a conference room, interpreters, live webcasts, coffee breaks, lunch, technical assistance, and so on. 65 representatives of NGOs and several state observers from the 6 regions of the world participated in yesterday's meeting. This illustrates for the accredited non-governmental organization the high relevance of this annual day-long symposium and meeting to exchange experiences and strengthen their cooperation towards the 2003 Convention. The symposium this year decided to focus on the role and the potential contributions of NGOs to the implementation of the UNESCO 2003 Convention, wishing to contribute to the Baku IGC session debates by bringing in the diverse experience and ideas of associated NGOs. Of course, they are looking in particular at agenda item 14 on the profile of the NGOs accredited and the nature of their work, and on the proposal of an evaluation form for assessing the NGOs' potential contribution to the implementation of the Convention. Ananya Bhattacharya from Banglanatak in India reflected on the role of NGOs in linking ICH to sustainable development in a strategy of culture as a skill. Antoine Gauthier du Conseil québécois du patrimoine vivant from Canada illustrated how measuring ICH and its results and effects can strengthen the implementation of policies and support for ICH in the long term. Dr. Annie Casimir from CEPER in Nigeria turned to the assessment by indigenous people and civil society organizations of Africa of the iOS evaluation on the 2003 Convention. And finally, Sumi Nam from the ICCN network from the Republic of Korea, looking at the ICCN network experience, analyzed how local communities and governments are organizing themselves at the international level in the perspective of sharing practices in the implementation of the 2003 Convention. Each of these presentations shed a light on a different aspect of a number of the items at stake during this 8Com session. From yesterday's presentations and debates, the NGO Forum hopes to contribute constructive proposals and perspectives to the debates of the Intergovernmental Committee in the next days. Several NGO working groups will be active and work towards addressing specific aspects of the agenda of 8Com and also developing cooperation with state parties and the Secretariat on safeguarding methodologies, shared expertise and practice. We hope to have the opportunity to bring in NGO comments and possibly proposals at an appropriate timing in order to enrich the discussions and inspire the committee's decisions. Given the growing interest of a number of NGOs in participating in the forum, the NGOs are also discussing the further organizational aspects of the NGO Forum. Finally, the NGO wish the committee members a very constructive working week, as 8Com promises to be a crucial IGC meeting addressing several decisive aspects for the future functioning of the Convention. It will be an opportunity to bridge some of the current challenges for making this so special Convention for living culture and diversity even stronger than it already is. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Neyring, for your report. On behalf of the host country, I was really very pleased that we had such kind of important forum and very intensive discussion during yesterday. And I'm pleased to learn that our NGOs are involved so strictly in the questions which are interested not only governments but society too. So thanks again. We will return back to the matters of NGOs and many other important issues you mentioned while discussing several of our coming agenda items later today and through this week. Thank you in advance for your continued participation in the work of the committee.